What is going on, guys? Andrew Acevedo here, back again with another video, and we are back with AEW Revolution 2022 predictions. Again, obviously the MLB lockout has continued and looks like it'll continue probably for another month, so I'm going to go definitely dip my toe into more other sports, or wrestling, at least with me. NHL content, definitely going to be some NHL trade deadline coverage, any Penguins make a move, any big moves. Probably some trade deadline predictions, maybe down the line future content. Obviously, I might be uploading actually some new highlight packs. I might be doing some highlights, just having some fun. Having more fun with the uploads. Just less work for me. More fun uploads, I guess. Maybe a Bryce Harper MVP highlight pack or a DeGrom. I'm just gonna be doing more fun. I think that's what I'm gonna do now. Is just have a little more fun with uploads. And obviously, for me, more fun is talking about AEW. And AEW has been white hot. Obviously, had the big announcement from Tony Khan, which I guess let's start in talking about. This is going to be predictions for Revolution, but also talking about the Go Home show to Revolution this past Wednesday on Dynamite. And I am recording this on Thursday, so this is going to be before Rampage. I know there is going to be a triple threat: Guevara, Darby, and Andrade for the TNT title. I think Sammy retains there, and I am going to predict Christian winning the final spot in the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and that's why we'll get to the predictions in a second. But we have to talk about Dynamite on Wednesday with Tony Khan's big announcement. Everyone was predicting, was it going to be a New Japan Super Show? Was it going to be, something to that extent? Was it going to be a streaming service? And he went out and bought the whole entire company of ROH. He just bought the whole, we laugh. Wrestling fans were joking, oh, Tony Khan should just buy ROH, because Sinclair Broadcasting were terrible owners to Ring of Honor. And he said, why don't you just buy Ring of Honor? And he ends up buying the entire company. People are saying, I was saying before the report came out, you should just use it as their version of NXT. I mean, NXT was the developmental for AEW, obviously, but it's good. It's funny to see, but to have again, and it makes more sense why he's signing so much talent now. Is now you can use it on Rampage, on Dynamite, on Dark, and then use it on ROH. Maybe you send a Lee Johnson or somebody, a Brock Anderson. It's send all these younger guys to Ring of Honor and have them just have fun and have Ring of Honor be the super indie that it really always is. And have your guys be there. Obviously it would be cool to see them sign Samoa Joe and have Joe back in Ring of Honor. You have Punk, you have Danielson, you have Cole. You have some big faces of former Ring of Honor superstars. You could have Punk and Danielson pop up. You've signed Joe, you got Daniels. You've got plenty of guys in Ring of Honor. Obviously Kenny, you've got Hangman, you've got the Bucks. People say, oh, Cody's inside Ring of Honor. That's not happening. But it's just another. It's great to see TK buy it, and I have an idea, which we'll get to a prediction in a second, maybe about a future, they have the belts, the people who hold them, some interesting dream matches that potentially can come around. So, let's get into the predictions. Let's start off with the buy-in, 2 matches on the buy-in. Usually it's only one, but I think one's definitely going to be a squash. The other one could be a very fun match. We'll start with that one. Layla Hirsch taking on Chris Statlander. This feud seems to be going on for 4 months now, and this is kind of a long-term story feud in the women's division, which is hard to say, very rare to say in the AEW women's division. I'm going to go Statlander here because they did a little match promo. She won the first time, I think, on Rampage. They had a match the first time. But Statlander saying, hey, you're going to see a difference. In a promo saying, you're going to see a different side of Statlander. So maybe get a little more of a gimmick change. Maybe less, fully on the alien thing and maybe a little more serious. Because I thought she could potentially be the person that defeats Jade for the TNT title or TBS title. I thought it was going to be Ty, which them rushing Ty right now is kind of, I wish Ty would have been the one to beat Jade, but I could totally see Statlander in maybe a month or two, potentially being the one that she maybe at All Out dethrone Jade for the TBS title. And let's get to the other buy-in match, which the one everybody wants to see. The handsome devil himself, Hook, taking on QT Marshall. This has been a feud that they've developed on Rampage. Hook is going to absolutely murder. It's just going to be an absolute squash. It should not go longer than 3 minutes. Just have Hook throw QT around, put him in the Red Room, and put him to sleep, and have him walk away like the badass that he is. Just Hook should absolutely squash him, and I think that's why they put 2 matches on the buy-in. They never do. It's usually 1, so I do think this should be a quick squash for Hook. Let's move on to the main card, and I'm going to start off with the tag team titles. The Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus defending against Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. Obviously, the big story here, Jurassic Express said, hey, they want a challenge. They made 2 kind of casino battle royales to determine who's going to be the challengers in this triple threat tag, and the first one was won by Red Dragon. The other one was won this past Wednesday by the Bucks. And it's obviously, I left the Jurassic Express as the champs, and they are the most relevant in the story because the story is between Red Dragon and the Bucks. Obviously, Red Dragon coming in AEW, formerly the Undisputed Era. Obviously reuniting with Adam Cole, which Adam Cole in the Elite with the Bucks, and there's been a kind of tug of war for Adam Cole, who's, Adam Cole's best friends or whatever, and they've had that little rivalry, and they said, hey, we want to be the tag champs. Who's winning this match? It's not the Bucks. The Bucks are, they just dropped the belts to the Lucha Bros, and then they dropped, obviously, because Phoenix, sadly got hurt. Then they dropped the belts to Jurassic Express. It's not going to be the Bucks. They just, again, like I said, they just had the belts, and I don't think they need them back. It's either between Red Dragon and Jurassic. I could totally see them putting the belt on Red Dragon. I could totally start seeing it, and potentially, sadly, I don't think in the main event, Adam Cole's going to win the AEW Championship, but I do think eventually that you could see the Undisputed, I guess that's what they're going to call them, on the thumbnail on the last night's episode. But I could see them maybe holding all the gold. But I think it's going to be, Jurassic Express retention of the titles. I think the Bucks and Red Dragon cancel each other out, and then Jungle Boy and Jurassic and Luchasaurus get a sneaky, maybe a roll up to cost the other, and they retain the titles. I think that could totally be the way for the tag titles. Moving on, Eddie Kingston taking on Chris Jericho. Again, been a couple months. Eddie and Jericho have been feuding kind of for Santana, kind of like how the Bucks and Red Dragon have been feuding over Adam Cole, feuding over Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. Jericho, the Inner Circle, has kind of imploded. Obviously Sammy's gone his own way. Jericho and Hager have stayed together, and Santana and Ortiz have kind of bounced around between Eddie and Jericho, and it's just kind of the feud of Eddie trying to finally get his big win. Obviously, he lost to CM Punk. He lost to Bryan. He loses every big match. He lost to Moxley. When Eddie Kingston has never gotten that big win in AEW, and that's the feud of Jericho, is like, hey, you can't win the big one. Your the biggest excuse is, I think he can't win the big one. So, for Eddie, I think this is where he gets his win, obviously. And then Jericho's already said on this past Wednesday on Dynamite, he beats you, I'll shake your hand, and you get my respect. I think this could be absolute. I think that's BS. I think Eddie gets the win. Jericho doesn't do that, and I think Santana and Ortiz fully turn on Jericho because they did show we're cool. But I could totally see Jericho going full heel, Santana and Ortiz coming out to help their buddy Eddie, and they go back to being babyface. And I could see them kind of doing like an LAX, a smaller version of LAX reunion in AEW. Let's move on to the Face of the Revolution ladder match to determine the number one contender for the TNT Championship. It'll be Wardlow taking on Keith Lee, taking on Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Orange Cassidy, and one to be determined on Rampage this Friday. It's between Christian Cage and Ethan Page. Putting money on Christian Cage winning that match and being the sixth member. And for me, it's down to two people. I think it's between Wardlow and Keith Lee. I love Hobbs. I think Hobbs isn't ready yet, but I do love Hobbs potentially being a guy who can potentially win that TNT title. Obviously, Starks has the FTW title, and Cassidy and Christian they're not in the conversation. So it's between Wardlow and Keith Lee. Keith Lee just debuting, obviously got a pretty good pop back against, I think it was Isaiah Cassidy with the great debut. He's going to be on Rampage tomorrow as well. And has seemed to start a feud with Hobbs, which give me that match, give me all of the beef. And then you have Wardlow, which obviously we know the MJF feud. It was, again, turned up. We finally got some interactions with MJF in physical where MJF slapped the shit out of Wardlow and saying, hey, you don't work for AEW, you work for me. And now we're starting to see Wardlow go up against, obviously stop Spears from the chair shots post-match. He got in the face of MJF. So that feud's coming. But I'm going to go Keith. Keith needs to get this win, legitimize himself, and I could totally see him being the one who defeats Sammy Guevara to win the TNT Championship in his shot. Moving on to Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. This card, this is like the fourth match on the card, and there's so many matches that could be match of the night. Eddie and Jericho could be match of the night. Bryan Mox, the face of the ladder match, the women's match, Punk MJF, the main event. There were so many great. This is like they've said is like one of the most stacked cards. I think this card can kind of match up to all out last year. Maybe you don't get the debuts of like a Bryan and Cole, which maybe you could. There is one, to wrestling fans. I don't think we're gonna get that quality of guys like Bryan and Cole, but there are a few potential debuts that could happen. But Moxley, Bryan, again, Moxley's big return from obviously him going through rehab, and Bryan's like, hey, I don't want to fight. People want to see us fight. But what if we teamed together and kind of made like a dojo where like you take guys like Daniel Garcia, Lee Moriarty, taking like younger guys and take over AEW, and like he called out Jurassic Express, he called out Sammy, he called out Hangman. And Moxley said, hey, I've never beaten Bryan Danielson, obviously going back to WWE, and he's never beat Bryan. I don't think he's beaten Daniel Bryan in WWE. So like he's even said like I've never beaten Bryan, and I'm not going to join a guy who I haven't bled with, so that meaning there's going to be a lot of blood on, obviously you saw like the promo on Wednesday with Punk. There's going to be a lot of blood in this match, and I would say there's definitely going to be, especially with a Moxley match. Moxley's always going to have blood, so I think it's going to be a banger. I think Moxley wins, because I could see him going after the AEW Championship. I think if MJF loses, which, spoiler, I do think MJF loses to CM Punk, and goes into a feud kind of with Wardlow, I think you could have Moxley give another middle, high-quality feud for Hangman. Spoiler, he's going to win his match. And then have another big match for Hangman to win to kill some time while MJF's feuding with Wardlow before MJF gets in the title picture. So I could totally see that, and him, maybe Moxley going heel. We teased before he went to rehab that Mox was going to go heel, but Bryan being full-on heel, maybe Mox turns heel and has it, comes after with it. Maybe his, students of Daniel Garcia and Lee potentially going after Hangman. Moving on to a random trios 6-man tag, tornado tag. Matt Hardy, Andrade, and Isaiah Cassidy taking on Darby, Sting, and the TNT champion Sammy Guevara. I wish they switched these two matches with the triple threat match should be on the pay-per-view, and this match should be on Rampage tomorrow. But to get Sting on the pay-per-view, I'm going to go with the baby faces. This doesn't really have much story into it besides the three guys obviously in the triple threat on Rampage. So, and this is probably just to get Sting on the pay-per-view, so I don't bet against Sting in AEW. Moving on to TBS title, Jade Cargill taking on Ty Conti. I am not impressed by Jade. I know a lot of people aren't. I don't love her, but I think she just pretends. Again, she's 28-0, the Goldberg. She's getting the Goldberg treatment. I think she beats Ty here. I thought Ty would have been the one that beats her down the line, which I was kind of surprised they went to it earlier. Maybe, again, like I said, maybe they're keeping it for Statlander. Maybe somebody debuts, and maybe there's a certain person that comes in the women's division potentially, or maybe Ruby Soho, or whoever. Maybe they have somebody else. I think Ty is just another one for Jade to win and keep her winning streak alive. Let's get into the big three. Women's title, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defending her women's championship against Thunder Rosa. And I thought this was almost a lock. I think that the two world title matches I thought were locks. One maybe not anymore, and that's going to be this one. I think Cole losing is going to be a lock. But I thought Thunder all along was going to be the one that takes the belt off of Britt. And that's what, obviously she won in the Lights Out match, that crazy street fight, which was awesome. But in wrestling terms, usually when the person who goes into the go-home show, who stands tall, isn't going to win. And Thunder Rosa pinned Britt Baker on Wednesday. So they can go of two ways here. One, that Thunder Rosa has Britt Baker beat every time. She beat her at the Lights Out match, and she beat him again here. Then she'll beat her on Sunday. Or Britt Baker's going to retain the title. And Britt's title reign is kind of staled out. Again, I don't think there's many, but I do think with TK buying ROH, I do think there's one feud which we didn't get with the Impact collab. And as I could see Deonna Purrazzo coming in here, and she's the one to dethrone Britt Baker. Because obviously Impact and the AEW work together. She's the current Ring of Honor Women's Championship. So that has an open door. The forbidden door is kind of open. Because now TK obviously only got Ring of Honor. New Japan or Impact and AEW had a working relationship. So if it's not Thunder to beat Britt, I like Jamie Hayter. I don't think it's going to be Jamie Hayter. That only kind of leaves Deonna to come in. Maybe Britt retains, and then after the match, Deonna comes out and just kind of with the Ring of Honor Championship, the AAA Women's Championship, and she goes back to try to win the third belt. Like, and she maybe goes on like a Kenny Omega belt collector, because obviously she has the Ring of Honor one. She has the AAA one. She can most likely get back the Impact one. She can go for the AEW Women's Championship and go for all the big women's titles. So I'm going to still predict Thunder, but if Britt wins, I wouldn't be surprised if Deonna comes and is the one to beat Britt Baker. Let's get to this. I think the semi-main, I think it's been built better than the main event. The dog collar match, CM Punk versus MJF, and MJF is so damn good. The promo last week of him just being a babyface to come out last night and be the biggest heel. Again, even Punk said, am I the bad guy after the promo? Like, am I the heel in the situation? But no, the dastardly snake is always going to be a snake. And it was a great touch that MJF said the same promo that kicked off the summer, that CM Punk did to kick off the summer of Punk, because I think we're going to get the summer of MJF, or him winning the world title all out. So that was a great little detail that MJF did in the promo. And to have it, obviously CM Punk has been beaten by MJF twice in Chicago, and especially after the absolute beatdown on Wednesday, this is where CM Punk gets his win, and MJF is going to get his ass kicked. This has been feud of the year. All it has to do is just land the finish. Have a good match with, obviously, obviously the only one AEW dog collar match was obviously the late great Brody Lee and Cody. Brody's last match for the TNT title. So that's a high bar for Punk and MJF to hit. But those two guys, the first match was amazing. Now give the stipulation of, one, Punk bled like a pig. And the stakes have been risen higher than what it was the first time. Like, everyone was just like, I just want to see CM Punk get our hands on MJF. Now you're like, yeah, MJF needs to get his ass kicked, and he's going to get busted. It's going to get dirty. This is going to be a fun match. There's going to be a lot of blood. It's going to be it'll be a tough watch if you don't like blood and you don't like that death match style of match, but it's going to be so damn good. And I think CM Punk gets his win back. I think Wardlow officially does turn on MJF, maybe trying to go for the Dynamite Diamond. He doesn't interfere. He just kind of walks away with the ring, and then obviously Punk can hit the GTS and get the big win by himself. Let's go to the main event. AEW World Championship. Hangman Adam Page defending against my favorite wrestler, Adam Cole. Baby. Hangman is winning the title. I hate it because obviously I want to see the belt eventually. And I do think eventually it will be on around Adam Cole's waist. It's just not the time. Again, Cole has been booked. I know a lot of people have been shitting on Cole in AEW, that he's been booked the greatest. I think, obviously, again, he's been undefeated. Obviously, he lost the Lights Out match to Cassidy. Didn't go against his record. But he's still been putting on great matches. He's working every week. It's like, I wouldn't mind them putting the belt on Cole, because we see Cole every week on Rampage or Dynamite, where Hangman goes missing. Like, he doesn't wrestle on TV. He's not on the shows. He's not on Rampage. Like, you very rarely see Hangman. But you put the belt on Cole, and Cole's going to get that run where he's just a workhorse that he's on every week. Every week he's on Rampage, Dynamite. He's going to be defending it. That's what Adam Cole is. He wants to work. Where Hangman just is kind of, he's having great world title matches. Obviously, the matches with Bryan, the match with Kenny, the match with Lance, like we talked about in the last AEW video. Like, this is going to be a banger, because, again, Hangman is not missing on championship matches this year, and you put him in the ring with Adam Cole, they have some chemistry from ROH, one of the plug for ROH. It's going to be a great match. There's going to be a bunch of Bucks and Red Dragon shenanigans and Dark Order shenanigans. Maybe a potential Kenny Omega return. I don't think Kenny shows up. I don't think Kenny Omega is going to show up. I don't think, but you never know. People are trying, maybe Kenny's throwing out the trace, being like, I'm not going to be back in a while, but I do miss Kenny Omega, and obviously that's the big feud that's waiting for Adam Cole. Once Kenny is cleared, it's going to be the Kenny Omega Adam Cole feud. That's what we're waiting for, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing until he's going to win the title. I think he needs to get that done first before he will win the AEW Championship, and there's just so many guys left. Obviously, like I said, I think after the show, MJF's going to be challenging the title at All Out. I think he's going to be the one that beats Hangman. I think he goes on a run, and then I could see them going with a guy like Eddie Kingston or Punk, beating him, and then after that, I could see if they start warming Cole back up to where he needs to be, then I think he's not the next champion. I don't think he's the next. I don't think he beats MJF. I think you got to have like an. I would love to see them have. I would love it to be Eddie. That would be the perfect building Eddie Kingston after beating Jericho, and kind of like keep like kind of Eddie and MJF on like similar paths, where like obviously the good and the bad, and Eddie finally win the big one. I could see that. I could see Darby. That's another one. Like I think it needs to be another homegrown guy who beats MJF. But I don't think Punk. It could be Punk. It could be Bryan. It could be Moxley. It could be Kenny. But I think it should be kind of like an Eddie Kingston or a Darby Allin to beat MJF, and then I could see Cole beating him. I could see a full-on babyface. I mean, if you turn Adam Cole babyface, then you could see him to beat MJF. I think that could be a way, but I would kind of hope it'd be. I just want Eddie to get his shot that he deserves. I think he deserves a shot at the world title, and I think Cole has more time to win that. I don't know with Eddie. I don't know how long Eddie's in this, and I think Eddie deserves that big win. I think having him be the one to beat MJF would be a absolute cherry on top. So those are my predictions for AEW Revolution 2022. There is going to be a post-show stream. I'm hoping on Sunday. I think it'll be Sunday, depending on what time the show ends on Sunday. I will be doing a live stream post-show, talking about the full show. And yeah, again, like I said, highlights, content. There's content still going to come, just different, more variety, more just fun content. I think I'm just going to try to have fun. I'm tired of, coming up with ideas to just have fun. I think I'm just going to do content I want to do. So thank you guys for watching. Just drop a like, follow, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.